Let's talk about this latest. Joining us right now is Democratic Congressman Mike Quigley of Illinois. Thanks for coming in. Iran also said this morning that the U.S. bears responsibility for Israel's actions, but as they were just discussing, is calling off further offensive action against Israel for now. President Trump and that phone call with Netanyahu on Sunday, where he told him to not strike and not retaliate, Israel did, and Trump also then told the Financial Times about Netanyahu and about how Netanyahu would react to any deal that he cuts. He said Netanyahu, won't have any choice. I call the shots. I call all the shots. I mean, what do you think is going on here? Do you agree with the president that he calls the shots here?
Yeah, it's dangerously naive for the president to think that he or anyone has ever called all the shots or controls the issues in the Middle East. Obviously, the Houthis now threatening the Red Sea, Iran itself, Israel, the militias in Iraq, Hezbollah, they all have a different sense of who controls the situation. And the last thing they're going to do is listen to President Trump on this.
I also want to ask you about, in a new interview, the president made very clear that the anti-weaponization fund, as he had called it, is still on the table in his view, even after the Justice Department made very clear that they were not moving forward with it. The president, though, making very clear that he still wants it to happen. I want to play for you, Congressman, what President Trump told NBC.
Me, personally, I think the weaponization fund is a great idea, and so do many other Republicans. You have to get it approved. If they get it approved, that's great. If they don't get it approved, I'd be disappointed.
It at least does not seem that many Republicans on Capitol Hill are a fan of it at this point. I mean, what do you say to that? What do you think Congress will do? He's still pushing for it.
Yeah, look, the bill coming out of the Senate will come to the House this week. Last week, you saw a little more of the cracks and fissures within the president's support in the House when it came to Iran and Ukraine. I can only hope that when that bill comes over here this week, that there'll be additional resistance on this. I mean, let's put this in perspective. I was in the chambers on January 6th, and the leader of the Proud Boys, who was facing 20 years in jail for the crimes involved with that, is now not just pardoned. The Justice Department is erasing the facts involving that, trying to erase history. But if the president gets his way, this guy's in line to get $2 or $3 million as a reward, forgetting the fact that officers died as a result of what the insurrectionists did at the president's request. So he's trying to wipe out history. He's trying to reward them. So he's weaponizing the Justice Department to go after his enemies and reward people who committed crimes. I'd like to think this is where my Republican colleagues draw the line.
Well, let's talk about a little bit what you're mentioning here. The House passed legislation to cement U.S. aid to Ukraine. It was kind of the second major break by the House with President Trump on foreign policy last week. A lot of Republicans opposed it still, though. The chairman of House Foreign Affairs said the way that he put it is this bill, in my opinion, is an unserious bill that was crafted basically a year and a half ago. Others saying it's not going to pass the Senate. Is this, but obviously you're one of the people on the forefront of supporting Ukraine and pushing for more U.S. support of Ukraine. Is this bill, is this measure window dressing?
Well, look, it's the only thing we have. The question I had on the floor with my Republican colleagues was this: why did we have to force this bill to the floor? Why did it take a discharge petition? If they were talking about how much they care about Ukraine, well, why not do something about it? Why did we have to have a version? Sure, it's a year plus old, but they could have updated and put another measure there. You know, the Reagan policies, right, defending against the Reagan doctrine, saying that we will always help our allies fight against Russian aggression. I mean, that is dead among the Republican Party. Less than half of the Republicans support those measures, and the number is even lower this time. So if the Reagan policy that's still out there among a few of my Republican friends, put the bill on the floor. We'll support it, and we'll help Ukraine win this conflict.